Hey everyone, John Lorton here with another episode of BrainScratch Searchlight. Thank you so much for joining me today. I was contacted by BrainScratcher Lizzie Violet, who is doing a very good job of trying to raise awareness about this case. One of the highlights of me doing this job is meeting people that care enough about others to do things like this. So I really appreciate Lizzie's work on this case and, of course, reaching out to me. Hopefully, I can help raise exposure with your help to this case as well, and maybe we can do something to help Andrew Kinsman come home. And that's really what today's about. So let's start with the missing poster for Andrew. He was last seen Monday, the 26th of June. That's this year, 2017. He's been missing just over a month. He was seen at the corner of Parliament and Winchester Street in an area known as Cabbagetown, and that is in Toronto, Canada. I didn't mention it before, but for this Searchlight, we're trying to help our neighbors to the north. He's 49 years of age, 6'2", medium build, and just looking at this photo of him, if he was abducted or in some type of situation where someone else was controlling him, I think that is a guy that I wouldn't want to mess with. just looking at this picture of him, he looks like he's in pretty decent shape. So, of course, that really makes this mystery all the more confusing in terms of what could have happened to him. And being 6'2", this guy's got some size on him. Short brown hair with a big beard. He has blue eyes. He wears glasses, as we can see in the photo there. He has several tattoos. He is a gay man, and from what I understand, one of his tattoos, which is on his mid-right forearm, I believe, says queer. He has another tattoo, I believe it's on his body, maybe on his ribs, and I can't find any place that'll say what it says. It just, every place is reporting it as an expletive, so some type of bad word. Let me just jump to a news release from Toronto Police. They have a little bit of a better description. Yeah, tattoo on his right mid-arm with the word queer, and another tattoo with an expletive on the right side of his chest. So that's a little better detail in terms of the tattoos. He's likely wearing cargo shorts, a t-shirt, sandals, a crossbody bag, and he also has surgical scars on both knees. And there is contact information down here I will copy into the description box of the video below. If you have some information to forward to authorities, please use that contact information and put it in the hands of people that can act on that and hopefully bring Andrew home. So let's learn a little more about Cabbagetown, Toronto. Cabbagetown is a neighborhood in central Toronto, Ontario, Canada. It largely features semi-detached Victorian houses, and you can see a picture of them here. Looks like very beautiful homes. Cabbagetown's name derives from the Irish immigrants who moved to the neighborhood beginning in the late 1840s, said to have been so poor they grew cabbage in their front yards. Gentrification. Cabbagetown was gentrified by affluent professionals beginning in the 1970s. Gay men and some lesbians made up the earliest gentrifying groups of Cabbagetown. They are still a significant part of the population today, and the area is considered queer-friendly. As a matter of fact, as we get into the details, we're going to see that the last time Andrew was seen was at one of the Pride festivities that was going on in town there. Despite gentrification, residents from public housing projects and affluent homeowners mingle at a discount supermarket and a community medical clinic. Panhandling and drug dealing are part of the urban landscape, so are gourmet shops, upscale boutiques, and arts festivals, book launches, and wine tastings at local restaurants. So you can see you're really having a collision of cultures and different socioeconomic statuses still in this area. Could it be that that is part of this case in some way? Who knows? Who knows? But there is certainly a very big mixing of different types of people in this area. Let's move on to an article from thestar.com. And this is one of the earlier articles I can find. You know, typically when I'm looking into a case like this, I want to find information that's close to the actual time that it happened, just to show that, sometimes you'll see a perception change within the media as we go forward in the story. But here from thestar.com, this was an article from July 2nd, 2017. Andrew Kinsman has been missing for almost a week, and his Cabbagetown neighborhood is coming together to help the search for him. Kinsman is the superintendent of his building in Cabbagetown. It was found he was missing when a neighbor checked in on his apartment and found his cat unfed, and the building's garbage had not been taken out. Now, I saw some other information about when his cat was found. One of his friends said that they got some water for the cat, and the cat literally drank for 30 minutes straight from that bowl of water. So obviously, it was very dehydrated. A search was done of the Cabbagetown neighborhood on Sunday. Other efforts, including a poster campaign, have been made. The Toronto People with AIDS Foundation, where Kinsman works as a volunteer, has made regular posts on their Facebook page pleading for help to find him. And really, looking at this case and seeing that you have a publication that's already posting about this, you have an organization that he volunteered for asking for help, it's very clear to me that this is a guy that was well liked within the community. Looks like he gave back to the community in a very special way. And it's really a shame that, unfortunately, we're covering him today on Searchlight. Moving forward to CBC.ca, I have to say that CBC News has been doing a lot of excellent coverage in this case. There are so many articles that they've written that I actually had to trim down some of them and just take them out of today's video. Luckily, a lot of the articles are repeating the same information over and over, so I've tried to limit that a little bit here. Andrew Kinsman's disappearance is suspicious because of the things he let go, Toronto police say. The man of routine missed appointments, social engagements, and left his cat unfed for 3 days after he disappeared over a week ago. Even on your way to Mount Everest, there's Wi-Fi, said Toronto police spokesperson. It is odd that investigators have not seen any activity from Kinsman's cell phone since he went missing June 26th. It's suspicious because of what he let go, the spokesman said. Police said they're not aware of any arguments or fallout with people, and police have not detected any activity on his bank accounts. Of course, these are two indicators that when I'm looking into cases, I typically don't want to hear. We have that his cell phone is not being used. We have that his bank accounts are not being used. Typically, if someone is going to disappear on their own accord, they need resources to do that. They're likely to make a large withdrawal from their bank account. Even if they're trying to disappear, it's very, very tough for people to get along without money or their cell phone for very long. And we're looking at a case where it's been over a month now. To another article at cbc.ca. Ted Healy ran into Andrew Kinsman, a close friend of 20 years, as Pride festivities were winding down after the Grand Parade. Kinsman told him he was heading home to have dinner, and they parted ways. That would be the last time Healy saw him. I believe this is the last time that he was seen. I haven't found any other information that he was seen outside of this encounter. And it's really, really tough because, one of the things that we like to do when we look into cases like this is build some type of timeline of events leading up to the person's disappearance. For this case, it's just not there. I mean, all the articles are very clear. This is a man well liked in the community. He left his cat unfed. People thought it was very strange that he would just all of a sudden disappear. He's not the type to do that. He's not the type to skirt his responsibilities. So, but in terms of a timeline, I cannot find anything more than this level of detail. He was last seen in the Parliament and Winchester Streets area on June 26th. And let's just jump to a street view. And here we go. Looks like a lot of streets that I drive around, particularly in the Minneapolis area. We could see what looks like some newer types of businesses in the area. We see a market. I don't know. It looks like a pretty decent part of town to me. I'm hopeful that some of these businesses might have cameras, and perhaps authorities might be working on tracing his last known whereabouts, kind of taking it from Ted's input of that last time he saw him and then seeing if they might be able to chain together different sightings of him on camera. But once again, I haven't heard that type of detail here. What about in terms of his mindset? You know, if someone's going to run away for some reason, typically we will get some indication of that from people that have communicated to him. Sometimes they will be angry or withdrawn. What does Ted here have to say? He was happy. He was upbeat. He talked about his job. He was hopeful about his job, Healy said, recounting their last conversation. Not a whole lot of detail in there. I would love more detail about this aspect of him being hopeful about his job. Is this a new job that he's getting, or is he referring to his existing job as the super of the building? If he's hopeful about that, was there a period where he wasn't, where he felt like things weren't going well? Could it be related to the case? Maybe. Could it be unrelated? Totally. I really don't know, but it's just a little bit of an odd statement about him being hopeful about his job that perhaps someone should dig into a little more. I did ask Lizzie about that. She didn't have any more detail than I'm seeing here. So unfortunately, once again, we're just running out of details on this case. Housemate Megan Marion said, Kinsman's one of the most predictable, responsible people in my whole life. Friends said Kinsman would never leave his beloved cat without making appropriate arrangements. When friends entered his residence, they found the cat thirsty and no toys left on the bed, something he usually does when leaving for an extended period of time. So once again, we have an indicator of friends that know him well enough to expect his actions, particularly if he's leaving his cat behind, and we see that those actions are not being followed. It really feels to me like we're looking at a high probability of some type of abduction situation going on here. But let's continue. Over to InsideToronto.com, we can see that the community really got behind this really quick. Friends of missing man Andrew Kinsman are holding a food drive and rally Sunday, July 9th to raise awareness of the situation. You're talking within just about 2 weeks, they're already holding events to try to raise awareness to this situation. This is the kind of guy, obviously, that was very cared about by his community. So in one way, I'm happy to be part of this effort to keep raising exposure to this case. Someone out there has this information. Someone out there might have a little piece of a puzzle. Maybe there's someone that just has parts of the timeline that we don't know about yet. Someone that had seen him after that interaction with his friend Ted. All that could be very, very important. If you're that person and you're sitting on some info you don't think is all that important, please just use the contact information and send that info in. You never know how critical that little piece of information might be. Over to thestar.com, Toronto police say there is no evidence to link cases of missing men. So what happens here is once this story starts getting out in the press, people start looking through the area and find several other cases of men that have gone missing, dating all the way back to about 2010. There's 3 men in particular from 2010 to 2012 that go missing. They're of a very similar type, which I find interesting, and those are still unsolved cases. Those men are all of Middle Eastern descent. They're all approximately middle-aged. One of them's a little bit younger than the other two, but the other two I would say are in their 40s and 50s. They have dark features, dark hair, and all of the men have some form of a beard. Is it possible that those men might have been targeted? Maybe. And is it possible that Andrew is part of all that? Well, in terms of profiling, I mean, if we're really trying to figure out if there's someone profiling these men, the only difference that I can see is that Andrew doesn't appear to be of Middle Eastern descent, but he does have dark hair, he does have a beard, and he is middle-aged as well. So some of the indicators could be pointing to something else going on here, but back to the article. Police told City Councilor Kristen Wong Tam Monday that while there may be some similarities, they have found no evidence linking the cases following a conference that brought together investigators looking into various missing persons. So If nothing else, at least we can see that officials and the authorities are considering this. They're at least getting their heads together with these other investigators and seeing if there's linkage between these cases. From their information, it seems like there isn't at this point, at least for these particular cases. We're going to get to one later where it looks like they're really looking into it a bit deeper than this. But here is a quote. "I do understand why the community, especially the online community that's watching the social media activity at the moment, is feeling more anxious than usual. It does look alarming," said Wong Tam. "There are all sorts of reasons for us to be vigilant because we, as a community, have been targeted in the past," she said, adding that homophobic and transphobic violence happens every day. And I think she's making an excellent point, and I'm glad, like I said, I'm glad that the authorities and law enforcement are looking into these angles and taking these angles very seriously. Back to another article at cbc.ca. "As concern mounts, police search for link between two missing men." So this is a different case. This is a man that has gone missing recently, only a few months before Andrew. Let's get some detail on this. Andrew Kinsman, 49, and Salim Ihsan, 44, went missing in June and April, respectively. A group of officers are now being assigned to investigate the disappearances full-time. Another good thing to hear, they're basically getting a task force together to look specifically into these cases. There is a spokesperson speaking here. She said in a recent interview of evidence by police that it is yet to turn up any link between Kinsman and Ihsan or between these two cases and a series of 3 other missing person cases from 2010 to 2012. Those are the other cases that I had mentioned. But she added, that can't be ruled out as a possibility as new information comes forward. And this really kind of makes me think about the situation that we saw happen with the Grindr serial killer. Just because if these men are victims of some type of abduction, just because there's no linkage to connect those men together doesn't mean that the person that is targeting them isn't the linkage themselves. If they're using Grindr or some similar application, looking for men of a particular type, meeting up with these guys somewhere, the Grindr serial killer would then drug them. I really, really hope that we don't have some type of copycat situation going on with that case. It would be terrible. But there is a major difference between what I'm seeing here and in particular the Grindr serial killer case, and that is that bodies were being found in that case. And here, we're not necessarily finding bodies. We might have one instance, which I'm going to touch on before the end of this video, but outside of that, it's not quite the same thing that I'm seeing in terms of what happened with the Grindr serial killer. And if you're unfamiliar with that case, I'm going to add a link down in the description box below to the Case Cracked episode about that particular case, so you can see what I mean and judge for yourself if you're seeing things that line up with this story in terms of that story. Police say that it is also out of character for Ihsan to have gone months without contacting any family or friends. Now, I haven't looked into his case in particular, but from the information I'm coming across in terms of his case as it relates to Andrew, I think we're in a similar situation where we don't have a very strong time frame leading up to his actual disappearance, which makes these cases very, very, very tough. I can't imagine how law enforcement deals with cases like this where the timeline to their disappearance is just so obscured. Over to another article from thestar.com, just kind of where is this case at? This was written on July 27th, 2017. So this is as of about a week ago. This case has been actively investigated since first being reported, wrote Detective Sergeant Michael Richmond. Richmond's statement said a police investigation into cell phone and app communications hasn't yielded any information yet. He also said looking into social media and cell phone communication is restricted because there needs to be evidence that a criminal offense was or will be committed to get a search warrant. Now, it's interesting because we're going to bump into some information later that makes it sound like they're at least able to review some of the social media. I don't know if it takes a warrant to do that, because basically if you have someone create their own account and just look through social media, they're going to find whatever they're able to find. It's publicly available. So they do have a conclusion we're going to hit a little bit later about some of the social media of both of these missing men. Over to the Torontoist.com. The Vanishing Men of Toronto's Gay Village. And here we see a picture with the missing poster for Andrew. The Toronto Police Criminal Investigations Bureau, CIB, of 51 Division, which covers the village, has set up a special task force to look into the disappearances and determine whether or not they are indeed linked. The most recent is the high-profile disappearance of Andrew Kinsman. He was coming home from late Pride events in the village to make dinner. And here we have a photo of Salim. The other recent disappearance being investigated by the new police task force is the April 15th disappearance of 43-year-old Salim Hassan, last seen on Ted Rogers Way and Bloor Street East. Detective Sergeant Michael Richmond says the main link between the cases is that both men were very active on social media. By that, he means the men were all frequent users of gay cruising apps such as Grindr, Scruff, or Hornet. Now, I kind of don't know where that assumption comes that, I mean, they're literally saying in this sentence, by that, he means that the men were all frequent users of gay cruising apps. I think there's a little bit of a jump going on in there. Maybe the person that wrote this article has more information than they're telling us. But if nothing else, we know that these guys are both active on social media. We know that the police are looking in that direction. And I'm hopeful that if there is some link between these two guys, maybe someone that they both knew in common, that they'll be able to find that link and investigate that lead from there. Moving back to a press release that was sent to me by Lizzie from the Toronto Police, we see that once again, they're noting both men were active on social media dating applications. So here we get basically a clarification on what I was asking just a moment ago. There has been some suggestion within the Church Wellesley community that the disappearances of Andrew Kinsman and Salim Hassan are linked, as well as 3 other men reported missing from the same area from 2010 to 2012. Detailed investigation and evidence obtained thus far in the course of both investigations has not confirmed a link, although, as part of the police investigation, this is being considered. The disappearance of both men is considered suspicious. And once again, they point out that they now have a dedicated team that is working on this case. Now, around all this, if we go back to the Torontoist, we can see this, which is something that floated around on Facebook, apparently. Fear in the community has been fed by the widely circulated Facebook meme suggestively linking 11 Toronto disappearances. Some have even wondered if a serial killer may be targeting gay people in the village. In fact, 5 of the men in the meme have been found alive and well, and I've seen that information confirmed by police in a different article as well. And another man, a 6th, was recently found dead, which police say is almost certainly a suicide. Now, there, I just have a little bit of caution that I'm feeling because of what we saw happen in the Grindr serial killer case, where police were also assuming that one of those victims was a suicide as well, and they wouldn't put those pieces together until much later that he was actually the victim of a homicide. So, if we do have some type of copycat thing going on here, this first person that has been found dead might be more important to this case than we're actually aware of at this point. But that is just pure speculation by someone that does not have access to the police files to know for sure what's going on here. And finally, I just want to show you guys there is a Facebook group on this called Find Andrew Kinsman. Lizzie Violet is very active on this group as well. And we can see from this that apparently CBC Radio, I told you they were doing good work at CBC News. CBC Radio in particular is doing an interview. They were looking for family members of Andrew's to speak to. Someone did. I don't know if Patricia is a sister, aunt, cousin, but her last name is Kinsman, and she's saying we spoke. So obviously she's a family member. As of when I'm filming this interview is actually going on. So if there's any new information that comes out in this interview, I'm not going to have it obviously in this video, but if there's anything crucial or critical that comes out, I will do a Searchlight update later in this week to let you guys all know about that. Outside of that, there is a meeting that is going on in the community with police this afternoon, or I'm sorry, this evening, about this case as well. And I'm not sure what will be divulged there. I don't know if they are just trying to help put the community at ease. But here we can see a post from Greg S. Downer, who is showing that there is a community town hall about Toronto's missing happening. I'm filming this obviously on August 1st, so it's happening this evening. So it could be that in the news tomorrow, there might be some new developments on this. You might want to give it a Google search as soon as you're done watching this video if you're interested in this case and learning more about it, just to see if anything shook out from there. Once again, I just have to give a very big thank you to Lizzie for reaching out, and I am truly hopeful that the way this community is rallying around this, that some answers are going to come out of these disappearances. It's 5 men. I mean, regardless if these are connected or not, we've got 5 particular missing person cases going on in this area, and this community really deserves some answers and just peace of mind about what's going on in these cases. Outside of all that, it's really tough for me to see someone that is so admired by their community go missing, and someone that gives back in such a special way as Andrew does in terms of volunteering at that AIDS center. So personally, I hope that he is found safe and well and can come right back into his life and continue helping other people and just being the part of the community that he was before whatever happened to him just over a month ago. Thank you guys so much for caring about these cases enough to watch this episode of BrainScratch Searchlight. Now, if I can ask you, please take the next step. If you have people that you know that live in the Toronto area, please send this video to them. I've included all the links that we've covered here in the description box below. It's a great way to spread awareness about this case. They can dig right in, read as much as they want to about it, or just watch the video to get the overview. In any case, I appreciate your guys' help in terms of spreading the word on this case, and maybe one of you brain scratchers out there could be the missing piece to help bring Andrew Kinsman home. Thank you so much, everyone, and I will see you back here tomorrow on the Lord and Arch channel.